and to prevent this that virus that's going on. It's up to, I guess it's up to us to tell the government, hey, we need hazard pays for our family members that work for the IHS, the hospitals and everything.
Yes, thank you. That question. If you look at the handout that the legislature had on the fourth page, it says number 6, workforce bonuses other than hazard pay or overtime. Okay, what that's saying is if you go on page 3, it says non-exclusive examples of ineligible expenditures. The following list is example of costs that would not be eligible for expenditures of payment from the fund. And when you go to 6, it's saying that the workforce bonuses won't be authorized except hazard pay or overtime. So those are allowable in this COVID funding. So for example, the legislature there with the public, that would mean hazard pay. So when the public is there, then right we have access to hazard pay.
They do, but Mike, I know that some of the IHS employees, I'm not sure about all of them because I've never talked to all of them, but I've talked to some of the nurses, some of the medical records, and some of the staff over there. And since COVID was it back in March or something, some of them, they have been getting hazard pay. And so they are, IHS is paying hazard pay. But I don't know, the 638 that we have over there for the security, are they also getting hazard pay? Do you know?
Not until now, because the BIA and the IHS would not authorize hazard pay. So they asked us if we could use these funds, and then when they mitigate or come to an agreement how they would authorize us to use hazard pay, then we could tap into the 638.
Because I know that some of the employees have already gotten some of their back pay on the hazard pay.
Right, we had this discussion with the regional director the other day, and they both claimed that because of the tribe getting this relief fund, they wanted us to tap into that. And I said, well, these staff are performing operations on behalf of the 638, so therefore could we just amend the contract to include the hazard pay? And the response was, we'll get back to you.
Right now we're here for this 25 million. Like I'm retired and I have income coming. All they depend on is that elder money. Elder money, maybe a month to 3 months, 25 million, exactly what's it for? Stimulus, it should be that way. So, Laura speak. I'm your 4th grade teacher. So, I don't know who good job. So, in a meeting, 25 million. So it should go to Opsaloga before you put it in different areas. So now, sometimes I wait for that 300. any senior checks, not paid it. So it ain't solid, more like my nieces. Job solid, in the 300 Koresh, that's what they're looking at. And sometimes I get phone calls. Top Bishtari Gavali Kuhi, all the stage Malay, that one time I went in, and in AJ Shubakaiwak, he's not in. In a sidekick AJ Kusama, but in ponytail is Dumilum. Here, a Sash Pushipolera, when here it wasn't. A Salo, a Migila, apologize, so but. Had you put out here, it told him the Salvation, Coaching the gift. Sometimes they come to me for gas money. A Mao Priest revolution associate that it will matter here, but Kalagombi at the end, Mao So, the Kalagodi with this 25 million.
That's what we want to do. It's a matter of making sure that when the disbursement happens, there's the proper process or the proper backing for that, because if it gets audited, we just couldn't cut checks. So hopefully we can have that established early next week. When we re-engage, hopefully we'll have more answers that can clarify the whole picture of how the 25 million will be spent. So Cook, we're gonna make sure we get a handle on those ones that are close to being evicted and needing their light bills paid. And once those come in, then that's justification. But if it's a straight check to an individual, it's a different, there's different rules. So that's what we don't want is, let's say we give a crow $1,000. At the end of the year, there'll be 1099 for that 1,000. So that's what we want to avoid. So that's why we have legal involved.
Thank you. One of my questions to Chairman is, we're all in this together. And one of the things is we need to come together as both branches and get this money budgeted. So when will you submit the CLB for the 25 million?
There won't be a CLB submitted, but all the financials will be submitted. And you got to remember, like earlier the speaker had stated, this isn't revenue for the tribe. It's earmarked as federal funds. So through the 0405, those can't be in an annual budget, only because we didn't generate this off of our assets or leases or coal or anything of those nature that requires the annual budget process.
Thank you. Don, can you hear me? Don, can you hear me? Can I get a legal opinion on that?
Hold on a minute.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Let's try to do the video here. Okay, so the question being on the legality of how the funds are going to be budgeted or spent. And so I did have a conversation with the executive attorney yesterday regarding the chairman's position on spending. And the spending that they are reiterating is coming from the Constitution with regards to administration of the fund. But that they are also considering these funds as emergency funds. Now, the legislature has its own view on the FMA and the Constitution, that if it's considered revenue, it would be something that you would be budgeting because it hits that threshold. So, you know, the concerning thing about this money is you have to spend it by December 30th, or it has to go back. And so, is there a way for both of the branches to be involved in a meaningful process to make sure the money gets to the people? So I would leave that up to the branches to figure that out if you're going to do that through a budgeting process that you're regularly used to seeing as to your annual budget, or is the chairman going to lend enough transparency and participation by the legislative branch to get these funds expended on an emergency basis? And so if you take it through the CLB process, it's going to take its course. It's going to take a little bit more time to spend the money. I think you'll still have time to spend the money under that process. Through the procedure that the chairman has prescribed through the emergency process, I think on that note, I recommended that the legislative branch be a part of that budgeting committee, that all of the forms and budgets come over to the legislature, that you're fully involved, and that you're also making requests as if you were, each one of the districts should also be submitting a budget in there. So I'm suggesting either way that you do it. Don't let it turn into a power play over the money, but work together to make sure the money gets to the people. And that's only going to happen if there's enough transparency to the legislative branch and participation by the legislative branch, but you can use both avenues. One of the things that we're currently doing up here is we sent out a survey just today to all of the tribal programs and all of the communities to answer to the tribal government what are their needs. And so one of the items that was discussed is solid waste. And we also categorized all of the programs into 4 different tiers. We have emergency and frontline workers and solid waste under tier 1, which means in the event of an outbreak, all of your money and resources would move towards tier 1. So right now we're buying trucks, we're getting personnel, we're completing contracts to get the trash out. You know, we're the same as you, we got it all over the place because of our wind. That's one of the things that we classified as a tier 1 emergency frontline worker, and they are being paid hazard pay, which is double time. And so that's a strategic plan. That strategic plan we are going to submit to the tribal government within the next 2 weeks for approval. Now, we don't know the entire budget yet because this is all new to all of us, but we do know that it has to be prioritized towards testing, towards the frontline workers, towards surveillance, contact tracing, and some other items that you as PRO would determine is a priority. But the legislature through its district has to be involved in that budgeting process somewhere because it's you that are going to know what's best for your districts. So Lodge Grass with the trash versus the remote area of Fort Smith or Pryor or Wyola, you guys are all going to have different needs, and so the key to that is you got to be able to deliver the message to the chairman in a very fruitful way. How is this money going to reach your district appropriately to ensure that those elders are being fed, they're being checked on, that their medical needs are being provided for, that every individual in the community has access to testing and all of the PPE equipment. And so I think because this situation is really unique, I think both branches are going to have to come together and work together outside of the norm to develop that strategic plan. it's gonna be a very big detriment to the Crow people if you get into this power play over who's gonna approve the money, when actually you both should be at the table planning it together. So if you can get beyond that, either way is gonna get it here, through a CLB or from the chairman involving you in a fruitful way to where you're at the table as a part of that strategic plan. I would highly recommend that there be no court action over this money because it's gonna stall the money going to the people. But you have to be very careful on that note because remember, you gotta be able to spend 25 million by December 30th. It has to be justified or you're gonna have to return it because the CARES Act does require that there's gonna be a reckoning at the end. And so I think you need to focus your efforts on how are we gonna work together to deliver this money to the people. And it has to be extremely transparent and meet the justification of that April 22nd letter.
Well said.
Thank you.
Chairman Humphrey.
Thank you, Don.
We're open for that. Meanwhile, as the executive puts together those various budgets, I believe the branches should also submit their budgets. And then we could just put it all together and then reconvene again. That way, when, like you said earlier, one district may have a priority different than another district. Just like my aunt, which her son is like right next door here, Jess. They know that if the elders should be a part of this, then that's where we'll get the senior citizens program to devise some sort of payout for the elders, and then that would also be shared among the legislature. So it's just a matter of coordinating, and what I'm seeing right now is with different facility upgrades, together.
You're breaking up, we can't hear you.
Can you hear us?
AJ, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
Yeah, I was, there was a lot of background noise there, so, yeah, just saying that, we can reconvene. Meanwhile, everything within the guideline, that's what we have our staff working on to prepare the budget. And when you have those ideas from the districts, then next time we sit down, we can provide those and put it all together, think of the capability.
The elders complex has to be remodeled as well. You need to go in there and give it an uplift.
Is it on?
If you could, if you, again, just put that together and maybe a possible amount that can accommodate that, and that's what we can hash out at our next meeting.
Good.
Don, can you hear me?
Yes,
I really like what you said. You basically said things that I was thinking about in my mind, and CJ and Michelle and Bertie, so I don't have to reiterate that. What I would like to say is, as one of the community members of Launchgrass and staying close with the mayor there, we do have a business that we had to shut down. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses had to do the same thing. We were giving to the people by what we do. People are constantly wanting us to open because we do give to them. We wear masks, gloves. That's how we are able to survive ourselves. I had 2 jobs. Not only with the people off the reservation that are definitely going to suffer when they do live, but it's people on the reservation, especially hearing about the water and people's bills being not at this point with Bighorn saying that they're not going to shut it off during this time, people's bills are going to end up being $2,000, $2,500. The water bills, $5 to anywhere to $2,000. They build up even after the lift. So as far as the immediate essentials, things like toilet paper and gas and water, anything that anybody else talked about, the littlest stuff as far as immediate needs. And listening to everybody's thoughts here, I myself am from New York, and seeing my family go through what they're going through now, and being here as well in the preventative measures, honestly, even though Lodgegrass has these cases, Lodgegrass has been working together. When I look out the door or when I'm outside, there's nobody, hardly anybody driving around. It's gotten a lot better with preventative measures. We have a great mayor keeping on it. This thing we can beat as far as working together, and the transparency, and my Indian name is one who comes back to sacred land. This is our sacred land, and we do care about the trash, but what we also need to think about before trash is our immediate needs. So I want to thank you for Dawn and AJ for listening to us, to adhere, all the legislators, to be involved, like you mentioned, to have all of them present instead of just one present. They all need to be present, speak up for all of us, to come together with the chairman for a budget.
Mr. Speaker, I have a quick response to that. You know, in these times, we've gone over this up here with a sense of, you know, and I can appreciate CJ's comments regarding the deficiency of all tribal governments. You're seeing it in Navajo. They don't have any water, and they're remote, and they're all in small spaces. And all of us tribes have those unique circumstances that put us at, we're not even at the starting line with the rest of the government or the country. And we have to pick up some of these areas in order to bring the community to a safe standard. And so what that's going to require, it's not just the chairman. What I found out, it's not just the legislature, it's a community effort. I did share my COVID-19 ordinance with the chairman. And if we get a chance, we can hand that out, but the Crow tribe needs to develop a mission here. And the mission is going to lead the people, because the people are the ones that are going to make this work. It's not going to be the government necessarily. They're going to provide the resources. But in the ordinance that I had previously wrote for Blackfeet, we talk about mobilization of our community. And for the Crow, that could be your different clan systems, your societies. But one of the things that really is important is that the community be involved in this and lead the effort. So it's going to be those elders that can talk to elders. I know that when I talk to some of my elders, they tell me to shove it because I'm not on their level. When I talk to teenagers, they tell me to shove it because I'm not on their level. And the communication is going to be to keep each and every one of us safe. And so that's only going to come from your community. So I'm hoping that the chairman gets involved, people from the districts that can talk to each other on those levels. So, for example, you know, we have a big juvenile problem because the kids were not in school. You know, a judge is not going to keep those kids from behaving. Law enforcement isn't going to be a great deterrent, but it's going to be the kids on that level that's going to be a peer support group. And so, you know, with regards to those, whether you wear a mask, you wear gloves, you do the social distancing, all of that, that really should come from your community. And what we call that is our community cheerleaders, and those are the ones that you need to expend funds on to put out posters, to put out marketing, to put out that education about hand washing, about all of those things that need to be done, and that has to be a continuous message, because as you heard, as the governor is lifting up those restrictions, we are all going to be getting a false sense of security now, especially in your bigger towns like Billings. And so just because it's getting nice out, you need to continue that education from your public. So I would recommend that if you get a chance to look at that ordinance, mobilize your community and pay them to be a part of this process.
Thank you, Doc.
Good evening, Speaker, Chairman, members of the body. Yes, I get a decent hello, it's you know, but the hiliga could be a solo, yeah, but I get the hiliga could, but it's my sis, Papa must wish. I'm all she could, but I did. But it's a wish, she did. My she going on do itchy, hey, Bobby, hey, Brandon, Cubby, Billy, you together. Hey, can the swelling, now, big, Connie Jackson, go up. Let's be away, be dry. Family guys, like go there, hey, go ahead, Billy, you shut down, now let's get to go fish, I think. And Bash Jimmy Lai, she walk home, I said, let's see, show Sergeant McCabe, George. Speaker, Chairman, members of the body, all the legislators and guests. You know, it's a good day today that we come together. You know, there's a lot of different things. You know, everybody has a lot of different minds out there, different thoughts. And when you have a mission statement, as Don stated, you know, it's pretty good. A lot of the things that we mentioned outside, Brandon and Tubby and Leslie and I. Leslie is Connie Jackson's daughter. During our short break, we talked about a lot of the stuff that we talked about, parallel what Lee Don talked about. And I wanted Leslie to talk a little bit about it, on what we talked about. Taking it back to the people, looking at our needs, taking a survey out. You know, there's different things, and it's going to happen like not 10 years down the road, but it's going to happen immediately, so that when we meet, we can bring it back to this body. And you know, if maybe if you can talk a little bit about it, even if it's not too long, that maybe the rest of the districts can follow suit too. I hope.
We talked about being able to go out to the public, and this is kind of tied with what Bertie was talking about, prevention. Being able to make a record in a quantified information that will tell us what do the people want, what do the people feel like they need to be able to thrive, be healthy, be safe, all of those things. Several years ago, we had, through another effort, developed a survey, and that survey is done, but we haven't had the people to go door to door and do the survey and ask the questions, so that people have a chance to be able to say, not just have somebody say, I know what my district wants, but to have the people door to door be able to say, this is what I want, this is what I think, this is how our family could be better served. And so the huddle that we had outside is to say, we have this tool and we can use it, but it's been sitting there because I myself, I'm not a pro speaker. I can't get to all those houses by myself. So what can we do to do this survey and then bring that information back and have it help inform and shape the plan that we make for the district? And so since then, we had a conversation and we can recruit assistance from the housing authorities, people who are already on schedule to do outreach, and make a plan to try to do that quickly so that we can come back with hard numbers that the people themselves can say, 80% of Wyola district wants this or whatever. So that was the conversation we had, and that's the tool that we were talking about. It's like a survey that probably we need to do something specific to add some of the parameters of what's allowable under this COVID stuff so that it can inform specifically how dollars are set aside under this particular revenue stream or income or emergency money or however you're talking about it, but also that'll give us some jumping off point to do other stuff and go after other things that our district actually wants.
My name is Curtis Little, like the Cock Bible Show Week. In the meantime, why don't you guys distribute $2,000 a piece per person? Then you can talk trash after that. We all need money. Yeah. $2,000 per quote dulu. You gusta wala speak. Aho.
That's 30,000, 30 million dollars. We don't got that.
That's about $15 million.
Mr. Speaker,
Go ahead.
I have a question of the chairman. I don't know if the chairman can hear me. My question is, do you have a medical professional, like an epidemiologist, that is making any predictions for the Crow tribe?
We just recruited him. He put in his 2-week notice last week. So he should be on site next week.
Okay, because one of the things on planning for the money is those health professionals are really key to determining what your wave might look like, or depending on how the summer goes, your tourist season is, or the tourists coming through, I should say, versus if the school is going to be open. And so I do know that they make predictions on how well, or if you're able to do any openings. But right now as a tribe, we're not going to go down that road because our health disparities are so high. We can't afford to play with any numbers in that manner, but we also don't have an epidemiologist that can make those predictions. But one thing that I do know, which we're kind of researching right now, is that if we don't have that hump or that wave, or a second wave, that come November or December, we may be able to issue that money as a stimulus payment to the people, because it does have to be paid by, this has to be spent by December. And so our message is if you can keep the outbreak away, then the payment will come to the people. But you really can make those predictions with those health professionals. Those are the ones that are gonna help guide you. And so I know we don't have one yet, but if you do, that's gonna be a very good tool to determining how you're gonna save your money for a potential outbreak.
Yes, that was one of his recommendations, exactly what you were alluding to, but he did also mention that the first people we take care of is the people with health issues, disparities, and elders who have a lower immune system. And so he was the one who also advised that when it comes to the budgeting of this, he wanted all professionals at the table. That way they would provide that transparency of how those funds would be administered. Meanwhile, we understand that there'll be another deposit, but I'm not counting on that second deposit for the purpose of the planning. So in these planning stages, if the experts come on board, because right now IHS, they're getting everything from the central office level, and central office level is getting everything from CDC. So therefore, within the framework of IHS, they kind of lack those capacities of the prevention. They talk about certain immediate things, which is fine, but that all comes from CDC. So this individual that we recruited actually is from CDC, and he is that title that you just said. I get tongue-tied when I say it, so I won't say it at this time.
Right. And so I just wanted to mention along those lines that our experience with IHS is that they have a lot of regulation and red tape, and we don't get any answers. And so if we were to just bank on what IHS was going to serve the people, we're going to die. Because our IHS director said we're limiting tests. We don't know when we can get tests. As soon as the 30 million came about, we made a budget so that we made sure tests are available. So we're not going to wait on IHS. We're not going to wait on any of those regulations. We're going to try to get as much as we can out of them. But the tribe in this fashion needs to step up and say, we're going to take the lead. Because we don't have time to play with regulations or red tape, but we're going to make sure we keep a keen eye on them because of that trust responsibility. But your epidemiologist is the one that's going to really help you in that area.
And fortunately, the guy we recruited has a rapport with IHS, both in Rocky Mountain and Great Plains. So he understands the demographics. He understands, the different tribes. He's not a tribal member, but I believe he has a heart for the tribes because he's been working with Indian tribes for a while, including Great Plains Association and at the time Montana Wyoming Tribal Leaders. So he is qualified, and I would bank that actually has a couple of steps ahead of us, which are people definitely in trying to curtail more.
Speaker, on the other note, with funds for small businesses and I wouldn't really call them stimulus payments, I'd call them relief payments for these individuals that have rent coming up or utility bills. The Crow Tribe can set up programs to issue those payments for their small businesses that are affected, even their small tribal enterprises, in addition to providing tribal relief to Crow tribal members. You just got to set up a program and make sure it's not abused. You should have an application process and a committee that approves those. So that was one of our preparations, was who's going to administer the money.
Good evening, AJ. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is Dean Oakman. Mr. Speaker, body. Lilish, you were in a bind and you needed help. So you introduced the bill. In our legislative guidelines, bills, there's a timeline, rules, because you needed help. You kind of pushed it. And in this bill, you asked to borrow money from the buyback. And you guys worked together. You made it happen. And I guess you can't really say it's a bad thing. I mean, concerned, or I guess I don't want to sit here and reiterate everything, all these things that were mentioned to you by pro people like Laura and CJ, Shkadela, and Malashios. But we already know that. Some of us are fortunate to have an income job or something to help our fellow Crows. I guess Crows, I guess they, when Grandma and Grandpa gets I hate to make an association on this, when you get a lease check,